wherever you may be, thank you for joining us. I am Tomiko Dagan, the Senior Vice President of the Universal Peace Federation USA. Since December 2020, the Interreligious Association for Peace and Development, in short IAPD, has been sponsoring peace forums that focus on the reconciliation and unification of the Korean Peninsula. Today's forum marks the 44th month in the program's history. IAPD is a project of the Universal Peace Federation. IAPD organizes various programs that bring together leading experts to explore the prospects for improving relations, not only between the two Koreans, but also among the other stakeholder countries in the region. This soft power or track to diplomacy approach to peace aims to help bring about the peaceful reunification of the Korean Peninsula with dialogue, scholarly research, and civil society initiatives. We have high hopes that this webinar will be an excellent opportunity to gain more knowledge about the issues and the challenges, and ultimately provides us with hope for building one Korea. I would now like to invite our today's program moderator, Dr. Michael Jenkins, President of UPF International and Chairman of UPF USA. Dr. Jenkins, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Vice President Duggan and Director of the Interreligious Association for Peace and Development. We've been doing programs now for over 3 years on how we can bring peace and unification to North and South Korea from every possible angle. And we're looking at culture and arts and music, and also faith leaders, as well as business leaders coming together, working from many nations, but especially from the United States. Our first speaker today is Mr. Lawrence Baer. Lawrence has over 40 years of management and entrepreneurial experience in both business and not-for-profit organizations. He helped launch an international economic institute and for 10 years served as the executive assistant to its 3 chairmen, Honorable Robert B. Anderson, former U.S. Secretary of Treasury, and Anderson's 2 successors, Senator Eugene McCarthy and Prime Minister Sir Robert Muldoon of New Zealand. Lawrence enjoys songwriting, and he has produced 3 CDs, which have earned numerous awards, and has received Grammy nominations as a contributor to the Del McCoury Band's 2009 release of Family Circle. Lawrence grew up in a Jewish family. His father and grandfather were both medical doctors in Niagara Falls, New York. Most of his paternal grandmother's family was killed in the Holocaust in Germany. Wow, so sad. His mother's 2 older brothers and were both extremely involved in World War II. Her elder brother worked on the Manhattan Project at Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and her brother was a fighter pilot in Europe and became the director of OSS for Yugoslavia during the war. Lawrence has been married since 1979, pardon me, and his couple participated in the 1982 blessing at Madison Square Garden. They have 5 children, all married, and 10 grandchildren. Lawrence, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen and start my presentation. Let's see here. More high floating. There we go. And from the beginning. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to speak on the principle of peace and the unification of Korea. I believe this fundamentally involves restoring the global corruption of God's 3rd blessing to mankind. And this represents my own personal views and understanding. God is the Alpha and the Omega. God is alive now in the last days of his providence and has been actively working every minute since the dawn of history. Hang on 1 second. I'm going to lower that. So, God blessed Adam and Eve with 3 blessings: be fruitful, multiply, and have dominion. So fruitful signifies spiritual maturity. Multiply signifies a God-centered marriage and family. And dominion signifies God-centered stewardship of the creation. At the beginning of human history, before Adam and Eve were mature, Satan tempted them through their physical bodies, and they fell. God intended man's physical body to have dominion over the physical world. Because of Satan's temptation, he came to dominate mankind's physical body, and through that, the entire physical world. Even St. Paul, one of Jesus's greatest disciples, lamented Satan's domination of his body. No one ever fully manifested God-centered dominion over creation, which is to be built on the first 2 blessings. Since we never matured as individuals, we think about material and wealth in very self-centered ways. Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon, who's the co-founder of UPF and the founder of the Interreligious Association for Peace and Development, wrote in her memoir, Mother of Peace, "Evil is acting for selfish gain, whereas goodness is to serve others and let go of the memory of having done so. When we give and forget, true love flourishes." UPF stands on 3 principles for peace building: interdependence, which is living for the sake of others; mutual prosperity, which is about the equal distribution to all so that happiness can be fully experienced; and universally shared values, in that we are all truly one family under God. So Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon said further in Mother of Peace, the fallen world programs us to think that when we give something away, it's gone. In true love, however, the more we give, the more we receive. When our mindset changes from wishing to receive love to wishing to give love, the world of peace will be at hand. In the Bible, we read about the model formula for restoring the 3 blessings. When Jacob offered his life, his family, and all his material wealth in order to win Esau's heart, and he came face to face with God when he embraced his brother. Jesus, through his teachings, revealed much about our proper relationship with the physical world and with material wealth. In Matthew 6:24, he said, "No one can serve 2 masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money." Satan tempted Jesus with 3 temptations. The 3rd and final temptation was related to material wealth and dominion. He said, "Bow down to me, and I'll give you everything." Well, Jesus rebuked Satan and defeated Satan on an individual level. And Jesus has been working since his resurrection to victoriously offer a nation to God that could represent the entire world. And that nation is none other than America. The Pilgrims represented the fruit of 1,600 years of Jesus's efforts and came to America with the dream of establishing a nation where they could freely worship and dedicate everything to God. They manifested Jesus's standard of putting God's vision before material desires at the risk of their lives. Half the party of the Mayflower died the first winter, many of starvation, rather than touching the grain in the hold of that ship, which was reserved for planting the following spring. God made his covenant with those Pilgrims, and he showered unprecedented blessings on America, not just freedom, but incredible wealth. Like Jacob, God entrusted those blessings to America as stewards for other countries. God urgently needs America to awaken to its responsibilities on behalf of the entire world. It is now 400 years since the Pilgrims came to this nation. But tragically, America has lost sight of our responsibility as stewards of God's blessings. We are intoxicated, worshiping the false American dream, which is unlimited opportunity and wealth with little or no responsibility. We've drifted further and further away from God and become more and more seduced by Satan's third temptation. We are now confronted by America's wholesale corruption on many levels. America, on behalf of the world, must now overcome Satan's third temptation. We must wholeheartedly reject the values and corruption currently being forced on us. We must rush back to God and repent as the prodigal son did. We must reaffirm our first motivation to establish one nation centered on God. Christianity, representing Jesus, must take the lead, hand in hand with all other people of faith in this final great awakening, which represents UPF's second principle of mutual prosperity for all. And together, we must bring spiritual and moral rebirth to America. In order to become a nation that can stand as God's exemplary steward of the creation on behalf of all nations, we must start by achieving the first two blessings. We have to reach spiritual maturity as individuals, which is to be fruitful, and establish God-centered families to multiply. We must reawaken and revive American families. Only then can we achieve the third blessing, which comes on the foundation of the first two, namely God-centered stewardship of the creation based on true love. Here's one image of economic development in harmony with nature. But in true love, America is called to live sacrificially for the entire world, not just for ourselves. For 400 years, we claimed all the blessings that God showered on America, abdicating our responsibilities as fiduciaries. We are now in the end times, and we can see this played out all around us. All the seeds of history are bearing fruit. God has been working to bring unity between Jacob and Esau on the global level. On November 9th, 1989, the Berlin Wall fell, leading to German reunification. In South Africa, May 10th, 1994, we saw a white government motivated by wealth and power dominate and exploit the Black majority for years. Nelson Mandela spent more than 2 decades in prison for opposing that unjust regime, but finally became the president and united in forgiveness with former President Frederick Willem de Klerk to achieve a peaceful transition to majority rule. On November 30th, 1991, Reverend Moon and Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon visited North Korea at the risk of their lives and won the heart and lifelong respect and trust of Kim Il-sung, offering great financial support for that nation. More than 40 years earlier in North Korea, which is the front line of the materialistic, atheistic, communist world facing off against the God-centered democratic world, Reverend Sun Myung Moon was severely tortured to the point of death and then imprisoned in a hard labor concentration camp for nearly 3 years under the communist government of Kim Il-sung. They signed an agreement with Kim Il-sung to take important steps towards reunification, including exchange visits, cultural exchanges, promoting tourism at Diamond Mountain, which is known as Mount Kumgang in North Korea, and the establishment of an automobile manufacturing in North Korea under the name of Pyeonghwa Motors. Pyeonghwa is Korean for peace. Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon is now 81, and she is absolutely determined to unify Korea. She has set a goal to achieve this by 2025, next year. When America, representing all mankind, achieves a substantial rebirth, overcoming Satan's third temptation, Satan will be forced to leave the entire world. His power, which is propping up all the evil governments and institutions of this world, will quickly dissipate. On that foundation, Satan's kingdoms will crumble. As with the collapse of the Berlin Wall in 1989 and of the Soviet Union in 1990, great doors will open. The wall came down in Berlin in 1989 and Germany unified in 1990. At that time, West Germany had 62 million people and East Germany only 16 million, roughly 1/4. East Germany's per capita GDP was 7,400 euros versus West Germany's 22,700, or roughly 1/3. Based on research published in Brown University's Political Review on the link below, and I'll put this PDF in the chat for anyone to download it. West Germany brought up 94%, they bought up 94% of the viable corporations in East Germany and laid off millions of East German workers, many of whom ended up on the streets. Women suffered disproportionately. East German industrial production crashed 73%. This time, we must do better. As documented in the Wilson Quarterly on the link below, when the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, their currency was worthless. Overnight, their faltering economy imploded with no hard currency to import desperately needed goods. Shamefully, America refused to lift a finger. Congratulating ourselves on defeating communism, America did virtually nothing to help Russia during this devastating economic crisis. Russia's intelligence mafia stepped into that vacuum and privatized the dysfunctional Russian industrial base into the hands of a few cronies led by Vladimir Putin. This time, we must do much, much better. Unlike Germany, where East's population was roughly 1/4 of the West's, North Korea's population is roughly half of the South's. And whereas East Germany's per capita income was roughly 1/3 of the West's, North Korea's per capita income is only a mere 1/25 of the South's. As it happened in Germany, leaving the population of North Korea jobless is not an option. America must lead the world to mobilize vast resources and expertise, much larger than in Ukraine, to achieve the economic reunification of Korea. Like Jacob, America was established for this final moment to set the example of mutual prosperity on a global level. And unlike Germany, we must not selfishly invest for our own benefit. It must focus on North Korea's suffering people's health and vitality. Here are projects advocated by Dr. Moon to accelerate the reunification of Korea. A 5th UN headquarters, the first in Asia, in the DMZ between North and South Korea. A peace park in the DMZ to commemorate this historic reunification for future generations. A global peace road and railroad connecting all humanity, which would link North Korea by rail to both America and to Japan through tunnels, as well as to the rest of the world. Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon was born in North Korea and was forced to flee to the south at the age of 6. She, together with her husband, Reverend Sun Myung Moon, has advocated for the International Highway Japan-Korea Tunnel. Here in this photo, she visits the Karatsu site in Japan, where excavation has started. I firmly believe that the destiny of Korea lies significantly in the hands of America, supporting the initiatives of the people of North and South Korea, but that we must first awaken and accomplish our historic responsibility to fulfill God's third blessing by practicing living for the sake of others. Then and only then, spontaneously and joyfully, Korea will be reunified. That is the time we're living in. Praise God. And I'm going to return this screen and ask EJ to please play a video that of a song that I co-wrote with Hannah Bush about the longing to return to North Korea.
Apostles of peace, we returned to Jeonju, the dream that burned God's homeland to restore, to stand just one day in that sacred sovereign nation and weep with inspiration at Diamond Mountain. Once more we long to go home. 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 Our last meal together, deeply drinking in each other, engraving one another forever in one heart. I made you a promise to conclude within my lifetime, working a morning, noon, and nighttime. I pledged to do my part. We long to go home. 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 I will heal the wound that ripped our land in two, transform that barren compound into a holy ground. I resolve to keep the vow I made to you. When two nations stand as one, our victory will be won. Shall we plant a garden to celebrate the peace, where the white crane can increase? We'll care for creation to bind us together, a bridge from south to north, God's glory shining forth, a light to all nations. We long to go home. 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 The tears from every home. We long to go home. Our children, we long to go home. We long to go home. We long to go home.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence Bear, for a very moving presentation. The visitation of Father and Mother Moon to their hometown in North Korea. She was from Anju, he was from Chunjang and Chunju, and it was really very, very touching. And the reunification of North and South Korean people, you saw, I think that's when they were like 60 years separated, about 10 or more years ago. And the tears that have been shed, it really makes you think, wow, it's now been 72 years since the armistice, and we need to see the end of this division. We really need to pull through now and end this time of suffering. So thank you, Mr. Bear. That was really excellent.
Thank you
And
for the
our-
opportunity.
That was great. Our next speaker, Reverend Joshua Holmes, is the co-pastor of the Los Angeles Family Church, and he's the second vice chairman of the American Clergy Leadership Conference. Joshua has been serving on the national staff of the American Clergy Leadership Conference since 2020. He also led a group across America from Plymouth Rock all the way to the Bering Sea, and I was with him with my wife and some others for the Peace Road. And we went across America, calling for the reunification of Korea, calling for an international peace highway. He did an incredible job at helping lead that team of young people all the way. It was at the peak of COVID, by the way, in July of 2020. Most recently, he pioneered and directed Peace Cup USA, a nonprofit youth engagement initiative of peace through sports, culture, arts, and a vision of one day hosting a Peace Cup in North Korea for the sake of Korean unification. In his university years, he served in CARP campus ministry as a regional leader over 12 campuses. Additionally, he lived in New York City for 3 years, serving as an assistant pastor, focusing on building a vibrant community and raising a new generation of leaders. Through this extensive work with Christian pastors and youth pastors, he has cultivated a deep passion for raising and creating programs necessary for the actualization of a spiritual revolution in the next generation. He was born and raised in Los Angeles, California. His parents, 2 older sisters, are there, and he received the blessing of marriage to Takayo Hiraki in February of 2020. Welcome with me, Reverend Joshua Holmes. Welcome, Joshua.
Thank you, Dr. Jenkins. Thank you so much. And to the entire team, Tomiko Duggan, EJ Rapata, thank you so much. And thank you, Lawrence Bear, Reverend Lawrence, for your guidance and your internal messaging that we received on the essentiality and also I think it's a beautiful thing what we're fighting for, the reunification of North and South Korea. I was asked, I have the unique opportunity of wearing many hats. I think maybe I'm following in the stead of Dr. Jenkins, in the sense that there are many hats being worn, constantly taking one off and on. But what I found over time is that there's a unifying aspect to it all. First and foremost, that God is unifying it all together through a vision that Father and Mother Moon, who I affectionately call true parents, Reverend Samya Moon, Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon, their efforts for peace. And so I have the opportunity to work with the Christian pastors in ACLC, as well as being a locally grounded person as a pastor of a church. And a church that's growing and getting ever more complex and challenging. And my wife and I are wondering, how long can we keep going wearing so many hats? But we're reminded of the incredible beauty of the joy of being able to serve in ministry, to work with Christian pastors, and to work with the next generation. So our topic with this particular forum is on North and South Korea unification. So I thought I could take the opportunity to share of, just my personal experience, and then particularly about a recent event. So putting a little bit of rubber to the floor here of a recent event that we held here in Los Angeles, particularly in regards to peaceful unification of North and South Korea, and share the vision for that. So my personal experience is that I've had the luxury of being able to go together with ACLC for the last 4 years to Korea. And each of those opportunities has been unique. Some of them, they're always challenging. It's difficult anytime you go to Korea, into a foreign land. I don't speak Korean, for one, makes it extra challenging. And sometimes we go and we join the UPF program, and other times we have the opportunity to go and run our own programming. One of the most impactful moments that I recall was bringing the Christian pastors to the DMZ. It's a place called Imjingak, and it's a location where you can quite literally see the DMZ, the no man's land, the perhaps the most dangerous place in the world, one might say. And to watch the Christian pastors who are, most of them have no relationship to Korea at all. They're there purely out of trust because we invited them to come, and then they're willing to come because they connect to a bigger vision, a vision of a global family of children under God. And so when they pray, they're crying tears because they feel God's presence and God's desire and longing to bridge these worlds and to reach a people, especially they would communicate this to me, is that North Korea is the only place in the world, you could say, that is, where the opportunity for the freedom of the gospel to be shared is limited. Of course, there is Christian churches in North Korea. This is happening, but the freedom of that to be able to be explored by the 27 million people that live there is a limiting aspect. And so they feel that, and so they cry tears, and it's so moving. It's so moving. At other times, we have the opportunity to go to Korea and meet with other Korean Christian pastors with the intention and motivation that comes from Mother Moon, particularly, that if we're going to unite North and South Korea, it's going to require a tremendous Christian love. I think, Mr. Bear, you were referencing to that, this tremendous type of perfected love that needs to emerge, for us to be able to unite two countries together. And so we see the incredible value of Christian leadership in being able to accomplish that. On the other end, which is actually completely related, and almost I feel they have to go hand in hand, is that there is tremendous power in the next generation stepping up. When young people put their mind into something, pour their heart into something, it tends to move nations and worlds. And we've experienced this all throughout. And Mother Moon particularly has identified this as she looks back at Korean history. And in her memoir, she references a particular group of individuals who were called I don't know the exact name, but they were the flower of blossoming youth. They were individuals that the government specifically trained and raised up, that were young as early as 14 years of age, that the government was raising to become Hwarang, the Hwarangdo, who were to become the true patriots of the nation. And when the time would come, when there would be ideological or physical battle, these young people would be trained to be the ones to first sacrifice their life. And she suggests that we have to have the same types of individuals in our world today. And so that's been my experience getting to work with a next generation of individuals. So recently we held a really exciting program that is not our own idea. This idea comes from Father and Mother Moon, true parents. And their idea was that through sports, culture, and arts, we would be able to influence the world. And so we picked this up about a year ago here in Los Angeles, and we started to work with different Korean brothers and sisters to start pulling together Peace Cup tournaments in Los Angeles with the explicit purpose of connecting next generation with the vision of Korean unification. So our slogan is World Peace through Sports, Culture, and Arts. And we held our first one in January. And then we decided, after having such a successful program, that we wanted to do it again and continue to build on the relationships that we had been developing. And so our dream with Peace Cup is the same as the dream of the founders of Peace Cup, which is that North and South Korea could unite. And the hope, our goal, is that one day we can host a sports peace tournament in North Korea for the purpose of advancing peaceful unification on the peninsula. We're fully aware of the travel bans, of the limitations in terms of our current government, of us being able to accomplish this. And even when I testify about this idea to my friends, they get immediately concerned about the idea of young people going to North Korea. But one thing I know for sure is that sports have the ability to unite people. They create the opportunity and the environment for people to see each other as brothers and sisters. And that's what I think is essential. The more that we start to villainize North Korea, the more that we approach them with the idea that they are the hermit kingdom, they are the people that need to be somehow taken down, the less we get, the further away we get from the vision of God, which is that, and the vision of God is that these are children. These are children. And the more that we can bring that to the life and to our hearts, the more the idea and the concept, the vision of unification can take place. So our hope is that we can host a Peace Cup in North Korea. And that's been our explicit purpose from the beginning. And so we started to build. We started to knock on the doors of different professional organizations that we could begin to work with. One of those was the Los Angeles Galaxy professional soccer team that David Beckham played for. And that's here in Los Angeles. So we knocked on the door, and it just turned out, Dr. Jenkins, that a week before we had knocked on their door, they had been watching film of the 2003 Peace Cup held in Korea, where LA Galaxy played. And they were wondering, why did we stop playing at the Peace Cup? This was a great nonprofit activity that we were doing. We loved, they told us we had been wondering just a week before, we were watching this film, wondering why we had stopped involving with Peace Cup.
Amazing.
1 week later, we knocked on the door, and the Peace Cup people showed up at their front door, and they immediately invited us in and offered for us to use their facilities for our program. So our first Peace Cup was held with LA Galaxy, and our second one was held in the same, on a higher level. We rented more of their facilities, and we've started to redevelop the relationship. And their goal is to play in the Peace Cup again in the future. So we hope that that can take place. And so this was our event. Just happened last weekend, which is crazy. So if I look tired, it's because I am. Amen. And so we had about over 1,000 people that were there over the course of the 3 days. 40% were young people from the Family Federation community. 30% were an elder generation from the Family Federation community. And 30% were people that we had no idea who they were. To the life of me, I don't even know their names. They're brand new folks that had heard about this event. We had flyered, and they connected. They brought their sports teams, spectators, all sorts of individuals. On the first day opening ceremony, we had the NBA superstar Lamar Odom was present with us. He's a childhood sports hero of mine. I grew up watching him and Kobe Bryant win championships together here in LA with my mom sitting on the couch. So we reached out to him we had a particular contact in Oregon. Is one of our members of Family Federation there met Lamar Odom in the airport. We reached out to him, and he was through this course and different dialogue, he was able to come out and fully support Peace Cup this time, together with Bishop Noel Jones, who is a resident of the location that we held this. So LA Galaxy is right next to where he's opening up his new church, the City of Refuge Community Center. So this is awesome congruency. This is when I know that God is working, moving to try to bring this about. And they're testifying. We asked them to speak about Mother Moon's vision of reunification of Korea. One of the things Lamar Odom said was, you can't discount the power of sports. And he recounted his own experience of losing his mom at 11 years old. And he turned towards basketball as a way to find reconciliation in his heart and love. And he was able to cultivate his character. He described that he would have been long gone. He ended up getting into seriously challenging situations in his life. But because of sports, he was able to pull himself out. He continues to do so. Bishop Jones testified about how Mother Moon has to be led by heaven for her to believe in such an extreme idea that countries could unite together in a time when there seems to be only war. So this is how we opened this kind of experience. And we had other individuals involved. Tyler Champion is the manager for LA Galaxy Park. He was there. He's been our best friend through this whole process, helping us to open the doors to the LA Clippers, the basketball team, and other individuals. Also, we had the presence of the American Chinese Athletic Association. One of the things that we learned from Dr. Jenkins, especially you, is that if we want to unite North and South Korea, China is a major aspect of that. And we have to find connection there. And so we started to reach out to different Chinese associations related to sports. And this is one of the bigger ones here that is national and international. So their presence was a big deal. She's a former Olympian, Chen Ni. And so it's an amazing environment. In everything we do, we can bring all the amazing people, but the key is the spirit. The spirit has to be rich. It has to feel real, where the love is real. And so that's people's experience always with Peace Cup. It's a vibrant, just kind of collective of different individuals, not just members of any particular church, of all different denominations and background coming together. We had 30 students from Korea join us this time. They came from Korea. They were people of varying levels of faith and connection, but they wanted to come because they wanted to see how America is evolving in the aspect of North and South Korea unity. They also played. they made it pretty far in the sports tournament. We also wanted a community environment. So we invited individuals to come and do a 1,600-meter run, be a part of it all. Everyone needs to put their skin in the game. So even my own dad ran a 1,600-meter mile at 71 years old. Hallelujah. And did quite well, actually. I think he was top 10. And yeah, just engaging the community. The key is to show that North and South Korea unification starts with the unification of this community that's here right now and us engaging with one another. It's an amazing tournament. We have a team from Haiti come out as well as a team from Vietnam played in the tournament. It's incredible passion and energy. And I can't go in through all the story, but it was really special. The next day, there's volleyball tournaments, different teams playing, basketball. I see Vegas is on here this afternoon. So Vegas won. And it's a beautiful energy that is built. I want to acknowledge that we also had Christian pastors join us throughout the whole experience, praying over the environment, involving in the sports even, not just watching, but playing themselves and bringing their own teams from their churches. So I just want to read this testimony. I was just going to read a portion of it from a young brother, Daniel Lopez, who's been involved with Peace Cup. And he said, for me, he was in the finals with Vegas. And he said, for me, I appreciate the teamwork and bonds that we made despite the hardships my team went through during the sports competition. Even though there were many arguments, hard fouls with the opposing team, at the end, we were able to shake hands and cheer each other on. I think this is the power of sports. And this is the key. This is what really rends my heart to want to keep going despite how challenging it can be. Says, I think this is the power of sports, why it can bring unity between North and South Korea. If North and South Korea were to play a soccer match together, we can expect a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to be shed on the field during the game. However, one thing that can't be denied is that these kinds of hardships shared during a game is what leads to a shared respect and appreciation for each other, to put your body on the line for your team. I think this shared respect can lead to true unity between these countries without any more blood needing to be shed. I believe this is the essence of Peace Cup and why I believe the Peace Cup will be a tremendous offering for Mother Moon in her efforts to bring unity to North and South Korea and eventually the world. That's awesome. So I think we're longing to find a way to engage our next generation with being a catalyst for peace in this world. And I've been able to have a direct opportunity to find that. And so our hope is that that can expand. I'll just read a few more moments. I'll skip this one and I'll go to this one. This is from one of the Korean young people who's, sort of connected. They were sort of finding their reconnection to this vision. I mean, they're living in Korea. The DMZ is just miles from their home. Yet they can often feel like, what's the purpose of this? This person said, this LA Peace Cup was a roller coaster of emotions. As a young generation from Korea, I have attended many Peace Cup events in Korea. But every time I felt that the essence of the Peace Cup wasn't any different from a usual soccer competition. However, while attending this Peace Cup, I was able to feel what peace is through sports. It was a perfect sports match that included the Galaxy's team cooperation, touching speeches by NBA superstars, Bishop Noel Jones, a clear vision for peace, and various attendees from all over the world. She ended up getting injured, but she said, I was very touched just by sitting in the audience, cheering and feeling the heart. I thank everyone for their hard work preparing for this competition, and I'll cheer and pray for the upcoming Peace Cup. This is from a Korean younger generation. They have been to many Peace Cups, but sometimes it feels like we're just doing it for the sake of doing it, or it's just a soccer competition. But one thing is being able to connect it to a professional soccer team like LA Galaxy. That's essential. It gives it emphasis, power. It gives us strength, and then people like Lamar Odom, Bishop Jones, being able to clearly identify it. And then having a clear vision. And this is what I get excited about. We started recently here in Los Angeles as a church. I'm a church pastor. So we were trying to figure out how to evangelize. How do we evangelize to individuals? And we started to actually evangelize through testifying about Mother and Father Moon's vision for unification of Korea. It's kind of a wild thing to do on an American university to talk about North and South Korea unification. And I tell you, we've had in the last half year, now more, 3/4 of a year, more success with our witnessing than we've had in 5-6 years, simply by testifying to a great vision. You pull out, you start to find individuals who have a genuine heart and a longing to want to help this world. You find high quality brothers and sisters, and it's powerful. So I believe it's the same. We pull people to a higher vision that's clear, identifiable, and we help them to grow and cultivate. It was also awesome to see that we found ourselves all of a sudden in the presence of 5 different Korean media posts outlets that picked up on the event and ended up posting about it on their social media. So Naver posted about it on their sports page, as well as I believe, yeah, some other different ones. I cannot read Korean, like I mentioned. But it was awesome to see that's being picked up by Korean media itself as well. So I'll just end with this. Our dream for everybody here is that we can establish one Korea centered on God. I don't believe it's possible without the vision of Mother Moon. I think she has the type of heart, being a North Korean herself, and the kind of love that is necessary to actually do that. But I do think we need facilities. We need different approaches to being able to accomplish that. I believe this is just one of many. UPF on a much higher scale, on an Air Force level scale, creating the environment. And we hope that us as the next generation in this grassroots effort, that hosting a Peace Cup in North Korea through sports can be a way to advance that. So we held our second one. Our next one is going to be in January, which will be on a semi-professional level, scaling higher with LA Galaxy. And then our hope is that we can arrive at that. We'll continue to go higher, engage with more next generation through this vision, collaborate and endorse with different key influencers and organizations. And the dream is that we can host it in North Korea. And I hope that we can see each other there someday as well. So that's just a bit of my experience with this, and also my hope. I hope it can inspire you as well. And we can work together effectively in being able to help realize this dream that the world wants. Not just Mother Moon, not just us, but really the world needs a demonstration of radical peace, especially right now. So thank you, everyone. God bless you.
Thank you, Reverend Holmes. What a wonderful, wonderful inspiration. And I was able to participate in the Peace Cup in Korea as an observer, and also in South America. And I didn't imagine it would come to LA Galaxy. And that's really, really inspiring and really hopeful. Sports and culture and arts and those efforts really open people's hearts and minds. When we were in Gaza years back before the intense conflict now, we had a Peace Cup type tournament there. We had 6 teams competing against each other, and including real enemy teams. But it really brought people together. It was amazing. This is amazing development. So I'd like to ask Lawrence to join us on the screen with Reverend Holmes, and we'll have a little discussion. If anybody has any questions from the audience, we're happy to take those. But right now, I'd like to just ask a couple of questions of Reverend Holmes and Reverend Lawrence Bear. Lawrence, in your music that you created with Hannah Bush,
yes.
Tell us about those scenes where the people were embracing from North and South Korea. Tell us about that whole area and what happened after that and what's going on now.
Oh boy. I'm not the expert on the reconciliation. My understanding is that the visitation, family visits between North and South Korea were a short-lived agreement that came out of Reverend Moon's meeting with Kim Il-sung, and Kim Il-sung was faithful to his agreement. He allowed it to happen. Those meetings didn't last very long. In fact, there was a scene showing the buses, from, I guess, maybe from South Korea up to North Korea to allow for those meetings. But my understanding is that was just a one-off. It wasn't a situation that's been continued. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
that was very, very moving. So tearful. many of those people are now passed away that you saw in the film, but can you imagine having been separated from your loved ones for 60 years? Those older people were brothers and sisters that came back together, and they hadn't seen each other. And Father and Mother Moon went to his hometown, and he met his sister for the first time since he left North Korea in 1950. He was in communist prison camp, and when the MacArthur troops came, that camp was bombed, and he escaped and went back to his hometown and brought a couple people with him, and all the way to the south. But he hadn't seen his brothers and sisters since that time in 1950. And that visit where they're sitting there and Mother Moon was giving gifts to the North Korean women, and the couple of soldiers are sitting there. That was Reverend Moon's sisters there, and very, very moving. We have no idea that the kind of deep pain of separation. So this has to be resolved. This has to be resolved. So thank you for that beautiful presentation also on understanding that America's role with North and South Korea. And Reverend Holmes, you're bringing that peace cup to us. I'm fascinated. So how did you get to the LA Galaxy? These are like dreams. Like we would say, well, let's go get the LA Galaxy, and let's go get David Beckham, and let's have a good peace cup. And that's, you can knock on the door all day. You could knock on the door for a couple of years. How did that happen again? Can you recount that?
Yeah, I'm shared a little bit of, I think there was a heavenly preparation. Obviously, they were almost waiting for us to come as they were watching film about Peace Cup a week before. But I noticed one thing. It's one thing to knock on a door. It's another to come with a lot of your own spiritual and substantial preparation. One thing we started doing recently under Mother Moon's guidance is, as a church, we started to pray every single night. We call it the Chunshimwan, or the Garden of God's Heart, and and we do this from 10 p.m. to 12:08 a.m. every single night. We just try to get a little bit over the midnight hour, and and we pray. And then during that time, we spend about half of the time praying. The other half of the time we spend sharing. And what I've noticed as we share is we start to share testimony. The question every night is, what is a victory you can claim for God? And today, and as we start to share, we start to bond, and we start to share about more vision. And then people are stimulated. And then there's the substances that's where the substance becomes. It's the spiritual prayer foundation, which I think cannot be discredited. But on the other end, the substance is a unifying foundation, where now we have a group of individuals here in LA who are really on board with making this a reality. And so it's not just any 1, 2, 3 people opening doors, knocking on doors. We have a fleet of people going out trying to knock on different doors, and lo and behold, they start to open up. I'm grateful to Nasser and Uli Zamra with UPF in LA. We are able to knock on the door of the imam that's here in LA, the largest mosque in Los Angeles area. And even though he couldn't physically come this time, now the door is open to that entire community of people through them. But it's all based off of this unity that comes on a foundation of spiritual alignment and foundation. So I think because of that, then when we went to the LA Clippers a few months ago, we knocked on their door. They didn't let us in initially. And then all of a sudden, they came downstairs and invited us upstairs to meet with them. And then they were one of our sponsors for our previous Peace Cup as well. So all of that
Who
becomes
did you meet
possible.
first? Who did you meet first? One of the managers or one of
front
the
desk
athletes?
The first, I guess we approached the front desk, and then we pitched the vision to the front desk person, and then the front desk person pitches the vision up the line. I don't know how it happens, but we end up with the manager. That is always how it ends up. And I've noticed that
It's so beautiful, amazing.
if you testify to a vision that Father and Mother Moon are a part of, watch how it opens up doors. It's amazing.
Oh, good. Well, the spiritual foundation opens doors as well as your effort and your preparation. And now it was so beautiful. So who were the soccer teams that you had?
Yeah, we had of course there's some church-based soccer teams which were really cool. And then also we had a team from Haiti, so a group of Haitians who we had connected to, and they have a semi-professional football club. They came, and then there's a Vietnamese community. So here in Los Angeles, Family Church, sports is our ministry. So every Saturday we play soccer, we play volleyball, and we play basketball all day long. And we use it as an evangelical tool. So we connect with different football clubs. And so we're actively inviting people at the park to join us and play soccer, play basketball.
Wow.
And that's how a majority of our witnessing has taken place, honestly speaking. And so
Did
that
Bishop
Vietnamese
Noel
football
Jones?
club came from that.
Very good. Did Bishop Noel Jones know Lamar personally?
No, this was actually their first interaction.
He knows so many of the well-known figures in every field. He's such a kind and great man of God and pastor, and his wife Loretta was blessed, and he hosted Mother Moon for Peace Starts With Me in 2019. It was really an experience. So Lawrence, we really thank you for your gift of teaching and also your beautiful presentation of culture and arts. So what do you see happening now with North and South Korea? Now the tensions have gotten more difficult. And also I don't want to go into all the politics, but what you're thinking of how we can reach the North, what's going to touch the North. Before there was some dialogue going on, but right now the dialogue shut off. And
this is
Kim
just
Jong-un turning to Russia.
This is my own personal opinion, but it's rooted in word that Reverend Moon wrote back when he was first in North Korea, before he received a lot of input from Jesus, right? And it's interesting because if you read in the Bible, Jesus said he's going to the Spirit of truth will come and he'll glorify me. Jesus talking about himself. Why will he glorify me? Because he will speak what I share with him about things yet to come. So Reverend Moon had to do a lot of research about, the past, the history, to try to unravel the history. But you can't figure out the future just through research. That has to be revelation. And so in that, he said there's going to be a World War III. He wrote this in 1950, 1940. And he said that is either a real war or an ideological war. And he said that will fulfill an indemnity condition on behalf of the whole world, to overcome the third temptation. And by doing that, it'll accomplish that. It'll establish God's sovereignty worldwide. So it's a big deal, but that has to happen in America. America is the only place that can set a condition for the whole world. It can't happen anywhere else. So there has to be an awakening that he also talked about in America, fulfill that condition. And I believe when that happens, God will just pull the plug. I think it just like what we saw in Berlin, like what we saw in Russia.
Right.
I don't think there's going to be a lot of work. It has to happen in America, and then everything will just open up, spontaneously. That's what I believe.
Well, certainly it was a critical point where the Berlin Wall fell down, and it was because of young people and also people finally crying out for peace and freedom. So I want to thank you both. This is just a tremendous program. I think we've run out of time. I apologize if somebody's burning with a question. Let's take one question from the audience. If there's somebody here that has to ask a question, it's okay. One person, and I'll turn it back to our director of IAPD, Mrs. Tomiko Duggan. Any questions from the audience? All right, Tomiko, we'll go right back to you, and we're right on time. Thank you to our panelists today, Joshua and also Lawrence. I can't wait to take this program, which will be, on our UPF website and Facebook and also YouTube, and we'll be playing this over and over again. I want to get this show out. Thank you, Tomiko.
Oh yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Jenkins. I am truly inspired by two, wonderful speakers. And one of conditions the Kim Il-sung promised Dr. Father, Reverend Moon, is actually he said, I want to take, he was famous, Dr. Father was, Reverend Moon was famous for big blessing, right? And then Kim Il-sung said, I'll take them, have a honeymoon in North Korea. That's exactly happened after 1992. And
Wow.
so I was, I'm one of the couples to take care of them. I was to take care of them, to behave them in North Korea. So, Jeonju, the birthplace of father and the mother's birthplace, Anju, it's just between two cities by only half an hour by car. So it's a beautiful place. What I learned, from visiting North Korea 2 times was people there, we can trust. Trust is so important when we meet with people. And immediately we are able to open up as we talk as person to person. So there is really a way to really have a good relationship between two of these. But
Now
we really,
you were there. You were
Yes.
in North Korea with that honeymoon, and you were the chaperone. You and Larry Moffat were chaperones for hundreds of couples. So
yes, I
God
was.
bless you, Tomiko.
And also when Kim Il-sung promised the Reverend Moon to develop Mount Kungan diamond, I
Yeah,
was
climb the
also
mountain.
told to go to Mount Kungan diamond.
Kungang-san, yeah.
Kungan-san, Mount Diamond. So I really looking forward. In the beginning, I was very afraid to go to North Korea because, going to unknown world for anybody, whether it's a North Korea or a jungle or any part of the unknown area. But really, you will truly see that there is a people longing to meet us from the other side of the world. So, Peace Cup is a really wonderful way new generations can open up incredible doors to open. We are looking forward, Joshua, you will guide them to really meet with the people, your counterpart in North Korea. So thank you so
great.
much for your presentation. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. And we'll be here next Tuesday with our weekly program for UPF on bringing North and South Korea together. We thank you so much, Tomiko, and to Reverend Holmes and Reverend Lawrence Bear. Thank you.
Thank you, all audience who joined us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
See you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
Take care.
Thank you. Wow, beautiful. Great program.